We live in a diverse society, and I'm keenly aware of how the meeting points of cultures and generations is often a friction point. And I wanted to look at that and study that and to create a piece of theater that would address the issues that come up when cultures come together and clash. And what does it mean in America to create a safe place where communication can happen? So I interviewed people from many different walks of life, many different backgrounds, and I wrapped the whole thing around an Underground Railroad story, which was emblematic, which was a model of heroism in the face of these kinds of clashes. And so I wrote that piece in a way to inspire young people to think about how those clashes and how the hope of transformation could be alive for them. Well, I came to this community and I performed Finding North because it inspires young people to think about these issues. We then took that inspiration as a spark for their own questioning, their own inquiry into their family stories. They went out and interviewed their relatives to hear the stories about those friction points, about their travels, about the struggles and determination that they had to make a better life for themselves and for their youngers. The kids were exposed to a lot of new material. First, they saw a show, a one-person show, which a lot of them had never seen before. This day and age, everything's on a little screen. Well, this was live theater, and there were multiple characters, but one actor. How does one person bring other characters to life? That's a whole new experience. But then they got to meet me and work with Mila Romero, this teaching artist. So between us, we not only were examples, but really got into the skill set, the techniques, the craft of what it means to be alive in a story, how to become a character, how to change your voice, how to do all the things that are required to bring a character to life on stage, number one. Number two, they were asked to then ask questions, which is sometimes easy, sometimes not so easy, particularly when there are difficult stories to be told. But the children were guided in this intimate inquiry in their families. And then they brought text back. How does that story really come alive? Is it in third person or is it in first person? And what's the difference? Is it my uncle did so and so, or as the uncle, when I crossed the border, I experienced this? And they start to feel the power of sort of telling someone else's story or inhabiting that story. Stories make the world go round, but only if they're told and only if they're heard. And this project is about connecting olders and youngers through story, so that link, that knowledge, that love and wisdom can actually move through time from the lived experience of an elder into the lived experience of a younger. And not only is it heard, but it's written down. And not only is it written down, but it's learned. And not only is it learned, but it's crafted into a performance. And not only that, but then it's offered back out. So that story is deeply ingrained, deeply listened to, and then shared again, so that the story will be remembered, and the student, the kid, has an experience of the value of that story in their lives, in their family lives, and the impact it could have on others. We all need to be heard. When we're not heard, we are isolated. We're alienated. Loneliness is very real. When we are asked to tell our stories, it opens a channel, not only for the story, but for connection, for love, and for a sense of security and place in the world. So it's really primordial to be heard. I think that the elders and family members who were interviewed must have had the sense that they were heard, that their stories mattered, and that there was something in those stories which was a golden nugget that these youngers could take and keep. And in that way, their lives continue to live through the lives of the children. And that's a deep feeling. And to know that their lived experience, their hard-won knowledge and wisdom can continue to contribute through the lives of the children. It's a big thing. Well, we want the design of the show to come out of the stories themselves. But we want to fund that to give it a little bit of a spark. So I played a lot of music with the kids. I went to and showed them imagery, videos, talked to them about photographs from their families, maps, talk about lighting, mood, and sound. What is the sounds that you want to hear? What are the sounds and songs that were the soundtracks of your family's lives? Gathering all these different elements, the sonic, the visual, the light, the mood, the emotional elements. And then as kind of the designer and director along with Mila of this, my job is to kind of bring all those elements together to support the children in their performance.
So there were many different stories, aside from the ones that they told today on the stage. There were many different stories that they told every single day that we met, right? So every week they had this homework that they needed to bring a new story to tell. And they shared incredible stories about themselves, about the communities, and about places away from here, about food, about music, about culture, everything.
There's a big difference between being a journalist and being a writer for the theater. I love journalists. I love the information, the data, the analysis, the contextualization. But in theater, what we want is the juice, the lived experience, the emotional experience. And that's a simple thing to say, but it's hard to do. And to get these kids who did these interviews to then really live into the characters that they're talking about is a big step. How do you ask a 13-year-old to inhabit the body of a 70-year-old? It can be done, but it takes time and care and guidance. But when they achieve that, there's a sense of being beyond themselves, to live in the skin, live in the mind, live in the mentality, and live in the heart of another person. And this is where empathy can really be developed. This is about finding community. And we are social artists. We're doing this for a reason. Not to show off, not to be clever, not to demonstrate our skills, but to do work that has a purpose. Yes, it's the first time you're a storyteller on stage, and yes, you are a social artist. They can go together.